Welcome back to Inverted Aviators RC. You're here because you crashed your plane again. And this time it was a little bit bigger, the EC1500, which we got to give a big thanks to our friend we met at the hobby shop for selling this plane to us. And you might think that it's unsalvageable and it'll never fly again, but mark my words, this thing will fly. We've got a little bit of repairs on the nose and the wing and the motor mount and a lot of different things, but we'll get it all patched up.
So let's get started. What do we need to fix this?
So our main tool is going to be the hot glue gun right here. This will fill up a lot of the cracks and fill a lot of the seams that are created from the crashes. So that's kind of our big first tool to use. And then we'll also use these barbecue skewers to add a little extra rigidity and strength to the cracks as well. As you can see on the side here, it's kind of busted open a little bit. So we're going to cut this off, add some bamboo skewers around the outside, and then we'll seal it all back together with the extra strength from the skewers. And then making holes in the plane to add in these skewers or toothpicks, you're going to need a paper clip and a lighter. These go hand in hand. You heat up the paper clip, and then you can poke it into the foam, and this will actually kind of cauterize the hole and make it really strong rather than just forcing in a toothpick or a bamboo skewer. So having these two tools are great. And then some packaging tape just seals off everything. It fills in cracks and it makes things a little extra strong on the outside if you can't get to the inner workings of the wing or the aileron. You can just put a little packaging tape, you should be good to go. And then we just got a normal set of tools. We don't know what exactly we're going to need. If you have some needle-nose pliers to grab some wires through, or a screwdriver to get something undone. But just that's our general tool set that we always have. And apart from that, that's all we really need to get going.
All right, let's start with an easy win. Let's grab the nose cone here, and you can see it's a little bit cracked. And this would be totally fine if you didn't want to fix this, because it's just the nose cone, but we'll fix it. And so to do this, we'll just apply some hot glue into these seams and then push it together. Simple as that. We might put a little piece of packaging tape right here just to seal that off, but that should be really easy. Start yourself off with a nice win, something that isn't going to be very difficult. And now we'll just push this together as it dries. And then I'll also take a little scrap piece of foam, scrape off the excess, especially along the joint here. And we already got one part finished. Okay, so moving on to a more difficult part after the easy win. Got this large crack here from where it hit the ground, most likely. And so what we're going to do, because this is almost off already, is we're just going to cut along here, along the bottom here, and just take that panel off. That way when we put it back together, we can make a way cleaner, better fix.
It gets worse before it gets better.
Okay,
Just like that, we've got a panel off.
so I'm going to cut down here and get rid of this chunk, just like that. There was some more damage in there. So what we'll do next is we'll fix this part right here, and then we'll put this part and we'll fix this part right here. All right, so looking at this nose here, as we can see, there's a lot of movement, and this piece of wood shouldn't have any movement at all. So what we're gonna do to fix this is we'll put a bead of hot glue along this edge right here, and also along kind of this edge here, as well as this edge and underneath, and we'll push the whole thing together as it dries. That will stop all of this movement. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, so we've added some hot glue support to this piece of wood and the foam. Still a little bit of movement here, but that's fine. Once we add the other wall, it should prevent any more movement. All right, so now let's add part of the nose here that attaches right here, and then we'll add the other panel. So to do this, we're going to do the patented barbecue skewer technique. So to do this, we're just gonna heat up our paper clip, and then we will push it in like that. Kind of move it around a little bit. And now we've created a hole in there right where we want our barbecue skewer to go. So you can see our skewer fits in there really nice now. And so we'll trim this down, stick it in backwards, and then poke at the hole where it's supposed to be. Use this thing. Put that in like that. And we'll just eyeball this. Yeah, that's pretty good. Hot glue was not cold. And now we've got our hole here. We can do the same strategy with our paper clip. And make this hole a little bit bigger. And there we go. Now we can add hot glue to both sides and secure this together really well. All right, so now we can add some hot glue into here. Put our barbecue skewer in. It's about good. And now we'll add hot glue to the rest of this. All the way around here. Even on the magnet. Add a little bit of hot glue to this side, making sure we're not getting hot glue on our nose gear. And then we'll put this in the hole that we had created and line it up like this. And now we can hold it. Yeah, there we go. Now we can just need to hold it until the hot glue has cooled off. So now that this piece is glued on, notice a little gap here, and our magnet still isn't on very well. So we're just gonna add some hot glue here, kind of press it in, and then on the back of the magnet there. And we'll just make sure that's flat, and just kind of smooth this out a little bit. Figuring out how to attach this piece onto the main part of the nose. We were thinking of doing some barbecue skewers as well in a couple different spots. However, because when we set this where it's supposed to go, there's this lip down here. So the plan now is we'll glue it down here at this angle, matching the same angle it's at down here, which is not the same angle up here. But after the hot glue dries, then we'll try and bend the whole thing into this angle at the front of the nose here. And so hoping that this dried glue has enough strength to kind of bend this plastic or this foam just in slightly. Let's put some hot glue on here.
So is there any structural issue with not using a bamboo skewer in this situation?
So because this is a kind of side panel to the fuselage where there's really no weight being applied onto this part of the plane, we don't really need barbecue skewers. It would be nice to have them just so that it's stronger, but because this is only part of the fuselage, it's not as necessary. There's no thrust being applied to this part of the plane like the wing. When we fix the wing, we'll add some barbecue skewers because we don't want that to break, but the hot glue should be just fine for this situation. So let's also add a piece of packaging tape to this whole piece on the side so that it's nice and strong. There you go. Put your packaging tape right along the seam. This will give us a lot of strength too in this joint. A lot of peeling paint. A fixed plane is never gonna look as good as when it was brand new.
Just adds character.
But it'll still work, so that's all that we really care about. So as you can see now, when I'm pushing on the side of the plane here, I'm fixing this angle, like that. And so same thing at the nose here, kind of pushing these two pieces together. And so that's why we didn't glue this up yet, is because we wanted to wait for this side piece to dry. So now let's add some hot glue to the front and to the side here. To do that, I'll just kind of like pull it out slightly, give myself some space to apply some hot glue. All right, so now we got that glued up. And while doing this, we noticed that this part kind of broke free as well. So let's just put a little hot glue and fix this up real quick. Same thing, just apply some hot glue, a couple different spots. And we'll take our scrap piece, kind of trim this, we'll apply it to the underside there. Nothing's happened under there anyways. Let that cool. And now we'll take a piece of tape and put it on the side here that we just glued together, adding a lot of nice strength to those two pieces of foam. And I can see, you know, it's not pretty by any means, but this piece is on there and it's secure and it won't fall off until the plane crashes again. Gosh. All right, so now we've got this part fixed up. You can see when you put the lid on, obviously it's not perfect, but it is way better than what it was. The magnets are engaged. You know, it still is coming out a little bit there, but that's just fine. It fits on there. So now let's flip this over and check out the merch down here. But basically what we're gonna do here is apply some hot glue all around these cracks. We'll just add some hot glue and some tape to all this. The only thing to note for this piece here is the inside spins. And so anything touching the outside is just fine, hot glue wise. But we just can't have the hot glue kind of spill into this inside circle. So that's just something to note. Let's just add some hot glue here, add some tape, and we'll call the nose done. So there we go. We've got a fresh layer of tape down on the nose, and everything is hot glued up, and the nose gear still rotates back and forth. So we should be done with the nose. All right, so now let's move on to the wing. So we've got to fix up this motor, got to attach this back on. We've got a crack here, kind of halfway through the wing, and then we just got to kind of put this flat back on. So with these, there's these little clips that kind of look like Lego piece hands. And so then there's a kind of opposite side piece there. And so we will just kind of line this up and push it together. And you can hear it, it snaps in. And so now the flap is working again. These are really handy flaps and ailerons because they can easily snap on and off like that. So now we kind of fixed that. We've kind of put it in the configuration of more ailerons for a little bit more authority there. But now let's move on to this crack just because this looks difficult. So for this one, all we're gonna do is kind of spread this out a little bit, hot glue up in here and along there, and then force it together. And then after that, we'll just put some packaging tape over the top of that. So let's do that. Apply the hot glue here into our little hot glue up in here, there, and now we'll hold this together and also scrape away the excess wrap piece of foam. And so I'll just hold this until it dries, and then I'll put a piece of packaging tape over the top and then on the back side, and we should be good to go. There we go. This is gonna be the wrong tool. I mean, it's a tool. Usually you'd probably wanna get like a crescent wrench or any sort of wrench that's this size. We're just gonna use a pliers here. This might mar up the nut a little bit, but that's fine. It's behind the spinner. Loosen that up. It wasn't that tight. So you can see that. Barely left a mark. That's fine. Now we can remove this. We can replace it. But yeah, look at that. Kind of got this little thin plastic housing. This is kind of the meat of the motor mount here. So the plan is 3. We're gonna do one up here, kind of in this meat of the foam, one down here, and then another one over here or something like that. So let's just get this going here. So we'll just heat up the tip here, nice and warm, and let's go into the side here. Watch out for those wires for the motor. Just don't go over here because you'll hit the wires. So that's good right there. Maybe we'll just do one here and one here. I'll just do 2 there. Cut out a couple of these. Come on. These are going to be long because we want there to be as much meat holding this in. All right, so now I'm going to hot glue these pieces in. Spin it on the way in. There we go. I'll hot glue this one in. These do carry a lot of weight. They're trying to pull themselves off the plane when the prop is spinning. So we need to make sure that this connection is really strong. And so we've got this, and now let's make sure that this still fits. And of course it does. So we're Inverted Aviators RC. Yeah, okay. We will add some hot glue around to this whole area, glue it up. All right, so let's just hold this for a little bit. We'll want to wipe away that hot glue, but we can just hold it for a second. All right, so now let's put a piece of tape on here to really secure everything together. We'll just wrap this whole piece around and then fix all the weird bubbles that I created when doing that. So not as pretty as it used to be, but this should hold it on. The tape should also do a good job of securing this. And we can still access, you know, the front spins just fine. And yeah, there we go. All right, so tape has been kind of our savior here with the hot glue. And so now we notice a couple little dings here, and this probably won't affect the flight characteristics that much. Probably wouldn't notice it at all, but let's just put a piece of tape here and a piece of tape here to try and kind of create that airfoil shape again. So this will just be a small piece of tape like this. Attach it on one side and just wrap it around the front. And now we've kind of created that kind of airfoil shape again on the front. And let's do the same thing on this corner. This will also protect it from breaking. We don't want to go all the way over here because we got that corner to worry about. So we'll just put this right before that. And we'll just wrap this around like that. And now that's pretty good. There we go. So now this wing has the more aileron than flap. And so now this is good. We could add a couple pieces of tape in some of these spots, but they're not really cracks. They're just kind of like cosmetic damage. So we don't care about that as much. Now we got the other plane wing to kind of fix here.
Yeah. This one's a lot smaller of an issue. It's just the aileron got kind of chewed up a little bit.
Yeah, so this definitely took some damage, but basically we're gonna do the same kind of thing we just did here. This piece is almost off. I'll just leave it on because it shouldn't be that difficult to fix. We'll just do a little bit of hot glue right on here. Bottom there. Let's get some up here. Bend this into the right shape and wipe off the excess. Make sure that you've got kind of flat side there that doesn't have a whole bunch of hot glue on it, or else it's gonna smear all over the place. And then just kind of bend this into the right shape while it's drying. And looking along the profile here, this edge, this is pretty good. We still have that notch right there, but we'll fix that in a second here. So I got a better piece of foam here. Just make sure that it's small enough, or I guess it's large enough to fit in whatever piece you're trying to fix. So for this part, this trailing edge here is about the same thickness as this piece of foam board. So because of that, I'll cut right here, and I'll cut right here. We'll just cut this little chunk out. And like that. There we go. And now we will take this piece and make this same exact shape, and then hot glue it in. All right, so now we've got our piece, fits about that shape. Now let's just add some hot glue to the sides of this piece and fit it right in there. Now let's grab some tape here. I think I want to try and do something like this.
Yeah.
So let's try and get all the way up there, just like that, and then we'll fold this around the back side. One really nice piece. All right, so I just added a couple other pieces of tape here, and now this is looking good. But let's switch this wing. Right now this is in flap mode. Let's switch it to the large aileron instead of the large flap. So to do that, we will just gently pull on this piece, just like that. We'll just kind of snap that off. Now we'll take this piece and we'll flip it around. Gently pull this side out too. And we'll just snap this. There we go. So now just like that, we've got some large ailerons, and the flaps will just snap back in. There we go. And now we got some slightly smaller flaps. So now let's check the rest of the plane, but we might be able to put this thing together. All right, so now we can attach these wings. So make sure you have got your spar on here and just slide these together. There's a little connector piece there. I push that on and we can, oh, there we go. Okay, you just gotta push in a little bit. So now grab the other side together, and just note that these are two different sizes, and the short one goes on the back. The long one, and the long one goes on the front. So there we go. Push. Kind of got to get past that first layer. Get some good hard plastic here, probably for that reason. Now we should have our flaps here. Got our longer ailerons. We've got our props, and yeah, everything should be fixed up here. Let's grab a battery, plug it in, and see if everything works. All right, so after plugging a battery, we went over and looked at all of the control areas, and we got the ailerons moving at the larger section rather than larger flaps, as you can see here, which is awesome. We have flaps still working just fine. We will have to trim them out a little bit, but they're working, and they have 3 position switches. So you can have high, medium, or low. We have the elevators working. You can see that. Yeah, the elevator's working. There we go. Elevator's fine, rudder's fine. We also have the hatch at the bottom, which is throttle up. Yeah, well, there we go, and perfectly fine. And we got the rudder in the front. The nose gear is also working just fine. This is awesome. This is perfectly flyable, and we will prove it here in just a minute.